Hey guys, so I'm almost done. I'm almost done with the school year. I'm so proud. I just have a poster presentation today, and then I can rest easy for a little bit, you know. So I'm so excited. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. I've never really delved into those waters to talk about publicly or even with friends because it's like, so I grew up with Princess Diana, of course, I was a kid. I was born 1990. My mom was loved Princess Diana. Talked about her. She's the people's princess. The way she went up against them. Just the tragedy of her death. That was awful. Hearing that she passed away, and she just seemed like she actually genuinely cared about people. She seemed to know how to maneuver through publicity. Uh, how she would interact with celebrities. She just seemed like a fun, cool person, very dedicated to her children. So I don't forget that Prince Harry was a small child who lost his mother in a very traumatic way. And maybe his father and his other family members maybe they weren't there for him culturally. I think the Brits are known to be a little bit cold or more reserved, especially the royals, right? Very waspy, very Anglo-Saxon, just conceal, don't feel. They're all Elsas, just conceal, don't feel this. So maybe that is the case. I haven't really delved too much into that. Um, when Megan first came out and she was saying that she was treated poorly because she's a biracial woman, I was like, yeah, well, we could all see that because the royal family has had a history of doing a lot of things, and unfortunately, society has always been like that. It's always um, power struggles, and who's the king of the hill today won't always be the king of the hill tomorrow. And you got to keep a tight control on your reign of power, and you do that by subjugating other people. We know what it is. C'est la vie, right? I'm not saying we don't care. It's the reality. It's the darkness of the human spirit and what human beings are capable of. So I think when it first came, when she said that, I was like, oh, I can see that. That's awful. She talked about mental health. She talked about feeling suicidal because of my background as a person who's dealt with things like that. Um, I was like, no, this is awful. My mom was supportive of her in the beginning. She was like, oh my God, it's awful, especially after what they did to Prince Harry's mom. And there was just a lot of support. And then, and then she kept talking. Meghan Markle kept talking. And things started not to line up. Things started to get fishy. Like, they created a non-profit, a charity, and then I think the charity took them to court, and it just seemed very fishy that they weren't really there. It How they've maneuvered through the press, their fractured relationships with their family, just everything just makes them so incredibly off-putting. Incredibly off-putting. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, most of us, family, relationships, it's all very complicated, right? One of I don't know who said this quote, but one of the most difficult things we can do in life is to love another person, right? Everything we do outside of that is preparation for that big task. And it's true, right? A lot of people can say, "Oh, I love you," but what does that mean in terms of what you're willing to sacrifice for me? How much compassion and empathy are you willing to give me? How much understanding are you willing to give me? You know, mm, are we going to be able to work through, all of our conflicts? All of these things factor into love. And it's just been messy and messy to see them not have good relationships within their family dynamics. Meghan Markle doesn't talk to her siblings. Meghan Markle doesn't talk to her dad. Um, Prince Harry doesn't talk to his father, he doesn't talk to his brother or his sister-in-law. Him and his wife left the UK because of all the issues going on, but they still want the UK to pay for security. That's the big brouhaha. That's all of this. So, one, they don't know how to take a thermometer and to check what is the temperature of the public. They don't know how to do that. The public has been sick and fed up with celebrities. Rights are being curtailed. Infrastructure is failing. Inflation is out of control. Benefits are being rolled back. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you find yourself on, there's issues. There has been issues for a very, 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 very long time. Long time. I would say 50 years is lowballing it for how long our issues have been around, right? So I don't think a lot of people are invested or sympathetic to a couple that is very off-putting, that has been shown to lie, that it has just an insane amount of wealth and not a lot of goodwill, go to court asking for the citizens of the UK, the taxpayers, to pay for their security. You know, they went to Montecito, California. You know, I looked up Montecito, California. I looked up what's the average cost of a house there. The average is $5 million. And again, that's lowballing it. So Prince Harry goes to court and he's like, I need the security. His dad is battling cancer. Let's talk about that. His father, I'm pretty sure everybody wants to be a royal, right? They want to be like, I'm the king, I'm the queen, right? His mother was like, I'm going to be around for a while. I don't know what you think this is, but I'm going to be around for a long time, you know? And then he gets, and I'm sure he loves his mom, and, you know, but you don't, I guess you don't know. But let's say, you know, he becomes king and he's crowned, and then he has this insane health problem. He's like, God damn it. There's going to be part of him who's like, God damn, I can't catch a break. But you know, I'm not Team King Charles. I'm Team Diana, so I don't want anything terrible to happen to him. But it's also, there's not a lot of sympathy or empathy. There's sympathy and empathy for him being a human being who is sick, who's battling cancer, and has to be embarrassed by his son. There's a lot of empathy for that. But him being a royal, him having access to all this wealth, a little less sympathy there, right? But he's still a human being. I can't even imagine having to deal with an illness, having to deal with just all of that. Your mom passed. She was pretty well liked. The public doesn't really like you. You got your son acting a fool. It just shows you how messy people are. You know what I mean? The queen at least had the good sense to be like, okay, PR matters a lot. And we got to figure this out. We have to have a sense of decorum. You can make the argument that having this crazy sense of decorum kind of led to these problems down the lineage, unresolved trauma. It could be a million and one things, but Prince Harry and his wife are just really, really off-putting. So they're in the UK, and it shows you the disconnect. It just shows you the disconnect with people. It just shows you, because they're in the UK. They're arguing for them to pay for their security. Big Daddy Charles is like, no, 9, 0, no gracias, I'm not doing that. Bye. And he goes back to California, and Meghan gets out her phone and she takes a picture of Harry with the kids, one on his shoulder, one holding his hand, and you don't see their faces. And I feel bad for the kids because they're just stuck in the middle of all this brouhaha. And it's a black and white picture, and I'm pretty sure it's on their Montecito estate, and it's black and white, but it's, you can tell it's gorgeous, like with the trees and everything. I'm like, oh my god, it looks like here in Jersey we have a we I know everyone makes fun of us. Oil refinery state, armpit of New Jersey, blah 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 blah. We actually do have a lot of beautiful gardens, and we have some gardens that were donated by people who, they were wealthy, and they donated it to us, to the public. And they're beautiful, they're gorgeous. Some of them just look so serene and magical. That's what their property looks like. You know what I mean? People can't buy eggs. There are restaurants that they really are like, it doesn't even make sense for us to have eggs because even buying in bulk is so insanely expensive. I'm supposed to care about a couple that is off putting, that has a magical garden on their estate, and they're not willing to fix their family issues and family dynamics when they have the money and the resources to pay for security, when they've chosen to go and live in Montecito, California, when they're using their kids as a bargaining chip to one of the spouse's parents who might be dying. No. 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 And it's like, you could tell she probably doesn't have any real friends or any real relationships of just anyone being like, hey, you're off-putting, you look bad in the public eye. And that's why I think a lot of people don't like her. I've also seen people say, I saw a couple of black creators say it's because she's a biracial woman and it's how people treat black women. I really do think a lot of people think of Meghan Markle as just like a white lady because she's never really talked about her heritage. She seems like for her racial identity and ethnicity, she puts Prada bracelets. She puts Montecito real estate. She puts celebrity friends. You know what I mean? Like, she it's it's always existed, the haves and the have-nots, and she has firmly rooted herself in, I am part of the haves. I want to have things. I want to have a product line with very mediocre products because what I care about is the look of everything, the girl boss. I don't really care with providing the public with something that they might actually use or they might actually need. I don't really care with being charitable. There's issues going on with the charity that they were associated with, like her cooking show, her Timu Martha Stewart show. I have listened to creators that have talked about it. They're like, it's not good. And so I've seen clips. I don't know if I'm gonna sit down and watch the show and do a review, cause there's a part of me that feels very bad about the Meghan Markle Prince Harry situation, because at the end of the day, I do think that there is something within most human beings that makes us want to love and be loved and be accepted. And it's hard to see people be the source of their own misery. Like, it's hard to see people who lack self-awareness. It's hard to see people in their 40s. These people are older. These people are up there. Lack emotional maturity, lack wisdom. It's sad for the kids. It's just sad. The human element of it is sad. So that's kind of why I stayed away. It's like, oh, it's sad. And I think I've dealt with people who either had strong narcissistic traits, or they might have had a narcissistic personality disorder, and it's very sad. It's very, very sad. Sometimes it's that whole thing, hurt people. And I'm not giving people a pass, because it is also exhausting and taxing to be on the other side of things, and to be the person that is mistreated or abused because somebody else can't handle the internal turmoil of their emotional landscape. That's also exhausting and taxing. But, a lot of people who lash out the most, they're the people who are hurting the most. And it's just a sad situation. It really is. So that's why, like, I've listened to stuff about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, and it's like, y'all have all this money, and you guys at the end of the day are not happy, and you're floundering. They're floundering. How many things has she made? She made the podcast that I listened to, a creator. Her name is chillllllll, and she's very sweet. She's very lovely. I like her breakdowns. She helped inspire me to do a YouTube channel. There are a lot of creators where I was like, they really seem like they're having a good time. I like talking about stuff, right? And she has reviewed Meghan Markle's podcast and her TV show, her cooking, her Timu, her $1.99 cooking show, and it's not good. Everything is, there's a lack of buy-in. Nobody's invested in this, and she's not willing to go get a PR person involved. She doesn't have anyone around her that's like, you suck at this. You're not good at getting the public on your side. Like, I don't know how, how like for presidents they do like approval ratings. They need to do an approval rating for Meghan and sit her down and be like, your approval rating is like just above E. coli. Like, you know what I mean? Like, your approval rating is just above the upcoming recession. Like, you have to face these harsh truths about yourself, because it's the only way you get better. My Uncle John, he says it all the time. He's like, people create their own hell. People create their own misery. And it's so true. You start learning about psychology. Yeah, it's true. We're very funny creatures. We always do the opposite of what we should do, right? So, like, let's say we love someone so much, we hold them really, really tight, and then we don't realize that we're creating distance, instead of like letting them go a little bit and building up love through communication and shared activities, because that takes more work, right? And it's just a bummer. But yeah, that picture is just too much. It is just too much of and she looks like she took off comments, because that a lot of those comments would have just been coming for her. And it's just a shame. I don't know what these people thought. I don't know. Give me a tent and a sleeping bag. I'll sleep out in the Montecito garden, magical garden that you got going on there, black and white garden. Man, I was looking at those trees. I'm like, man, those are beautiful trees. It's like it's funny. She's trying to do this to, like, they won't protect their kids or whatever. And I'm just like, man, those are nice trees. You think some of those are flowering trees? Are any of those fruit trees? I'm like trying to figure out the trees. I'm like, that landscape is beautiful. People stop caring, and I don't know how long Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are gonna force their ways into the news. It's always something with them. It's always an issue. She's always got a brand to promote. They're always fighting with the royals. Like, give it a rest. Give it a rest. Why? Get some PR. Get some PR. Figure it out. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and if you guys know more. This is the only thing I've delved into with them. But I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.